Hey everybody, Vaughn here with the Vonster vlog, and welcome to day 156 of a year of yoga. I am carving out some time from a very stressful day to come outside and play. And I think I'm going to be, right here. Hopefully I'm in frame. The poi that I'm using today are youth tennis balls inside of clearance Halloween thigh highs with some little silk scarves, just kind of tight enough that they can slide around, but they aren't, they can also just slide right off if it's a particularly windy day. I can just slide them right off the end. I'm not going to right now because it's kind of hard to get them over this part, but that's all right. So let us start by just grabbing our poi. If you don't have poi, you can just use a strap or something. And I am just going to come through. Inhale, coming up. Woo. Exhale, over. Very much like how whenever we do cat cow, just really kind of getting that feeling of stretch through our trunk. So let's start out with just some forward beats. We are just swinging around, coming from behind around to the front. We want to make sure that we are perpendicular to the horizon. We want to be straight up and down, because if we start coming in sideways like this, then we start having difficulties with stuff getting tangled. And it's good to have the kind of control to be able to have the poi do that when you want them to, but we just want to be in control of what's happening as much as possible with our poi. And let's do this with our arms out nice and wide if you have the space for it. This is where I have trouble. Usually whenever I go nice and wide, they do start coming in. So I want to make sure that I'm putting in equal pressure and effort and momentum as I come around. Let's change directions. Coming up from below. And we can get a side view of this as well. Let's go ahead and start adding in some knee ups also. Just nice and slow, very deliberate, holding for a little bit while we're up there. If you don't have poi, but you want to be following along with us anyhow, just doing circles with your wrists, being in this stance and making circles with our wrists in one direction and then the other can be a really great way to still build up those muscles. So now our next that we will do is bringing both of our poi. I just have them wrapped around my hands a bit loosely to shorten them. If I leave it, the longer your poi, the slower they're going to move, which might be something that you're looking for. Whereas if you shorten, it's now traveling faster. So let's swing from behind to forward from above and start turning those poi so that they're now in front of you. And let's make them alternate. Without the poi, I'm holding my arms very much in almost a cactus position, but with my forearms laid flat. So, and then making the circles with my wrists. We can now do this in the opposite direction. That really, just holding it there can really be a challenge. So now in the opposite direction, coming up from below, let's go ahead and start it from below like this. There we go. And then start bringing them around so that they're coming in the front. If you find your poi getting tangled, like how they would in this, go ahead and start doing the alternation while we're in the hallway before we bring them around to being propellers. And from here, let's go ahead and shift from one leg to the other. Maybe practice moving around a little bit if you have the space for it. Doing a little bit of a step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. And on that step touch, you can actually reach back and get some nice kind of posing. Whew. It really does get a workout on those arms. So now from here, let us do a corkscrew just with one hand. So we'll start doing a helicopter. Mwah! Bye, honey. Randy's going off and running errands while I do my yoga. He's so good. So we're in our helicopter, and then as it swings around in front, so here, I'm actually going to go nice and big on this one. As we swing around to that front, we'll come down. Oh, can't go too big. It gets tangled on my clothes. And stir our cauldron, or stir the pot. And then again, as it comes around to the front, we can come back up. And now we can practice that transition and make a corkscrew. And we can do that on both sides. So just helicoptering over our head. And don't forget, the more momentum you give something, the less likely it is to hit you. I'm much more likely to hit myself when I'm not putting enough gas to it. Whereas if I put a lot of gas in it, I'm not going to hit myself, not unless I start really, putting my body in the way. And we can practice these in both directions as well, y'all. So let's start with coming from the outside towards the center. And then do that transition. There we go. And now let's corkscrew. And if we need to, I'm just walking my hand while I spin. I'm just kind of gathering a little bit more of that poi so that we can make it nice and short. And now from here, we can do both arms. And we can do them off to the sides of us. We can bring them in front of us. We can even, if you think of this in this plane, kind of horizontal plane, we can do the same thing with the corkscrew in the vertical plane. There's a bunch of birds flying by. So in the vertical plane, we would be doing a propeller. So I'm maintaining that propeller but facing you. And then we would go across our body. So as that poi is coming around to the front, we would transition. And then we can build that up so that we're doing this here. There we go. Let's try it on the other side. Just coming from above, around, and then transition. So you'll notice it makes it change direction a little bit in orientation to your body. On this one, in relation to like my brain, through my center, I guess we should say, it's coming from above. Whenever we transition, it's now coming from below. So if that's confusing to you, don't worry about it. Just go with the flow of it. But that little tidbit helped me to wrap my head around it, so it might help you as well. So now we're just doing that cross in front of us. And you can really make this big too, like really get your arm into it. Or you can keep it nice and small and tight, just however you like. And now I recommend to just bring your hands together like this and do them both at the same time in that cross. And now separate your hands. You'll kind of need to keep one in front of the other to keep them from tangling. So I actually have them crossed at my wrists just to give a little bit of space. So this is how I'm holding them. One hand's farther back than the other hand and they're crossed. This one's on the wrist joint, this one is right behind my wrist. So it's giving them just enough space that we can do what we're doing. Whoop! And then whack ourselves. But now let's try doing them alternately. So we'll follow one with the other. Wait, what am I doing here? There we go. And so what we're doing here is the same thing that we were doing, but over here on this side, and then over here on this side, and we will do them alternately, which if that's difficult for you, you can just get one side going. I usually like to start with my less dominant side because it's harder for me to make my brain do both. But now, as it's coming behind, we come into the front. And you want to make sure you're scooping behind yourself as well. And this is, let's see how it's looking from the side. Whoop. It can take a little bit sometimes getting things to transition over. Let's actually try the other direction. And from here, we can actually take that same movement and do it over our head in a windmill. So this is a one-bladed windmill. Let's practice that on both sides. So scooping in front, let's just do our propeller in front of us and then behind us. Ow. That's all right. And then alternate front and behind. And so now whenever we come into our windmill, and we can start bringing that all around our bodies. And just getting all sorts of weird and crazy with it. But Randy's back, so I'm going to get back to work, and I will see y'all tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Let me know how you're doing down in the comments, and until next time, keep on keeping on. Mwah. Bye.